All righty, for the recording, welcome back. We are Arya Nagarjuna investigators. It is May 14th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know that's possible. Learning about karma and emptiness, we can glimpse how it's possible, even that it's inevitable. And we know that this precious being knows what we need to know, knows what we need to learn yet, and knows what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so feel that wish, that longing, that intention to do what we need to do. No matter how long it takes, no matter what it requires. And know that that precious being will be with you every step of the way. And so feel your reliance upon them, your devotion to them. Ask them to please help, to show you something. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Nirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing in this investigation and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. Oh, that's too big. Yeah. So we're still trying to do our review. Then we started in January. Trying to get back to wherever we left off last October. No wonder it's taken us so long to do our review. It's like I have to start over every single time. But I'm perceiving that every time we go back and like go into it again, like we're hearing it, differently, aren't we? We're relating to it differently. And, of course that's going to be true because we can't hear the same thing in the same way twice, anything. We can have the same conversation with somebody. Hi, how are you? The weather's nice. Hello. But even if the words are exactly the same, the experience is going to be different. So we can rejoice that we are growing in our wisdom just by struggling with this stuff. Even if we don't feel like we come to a sense that, oh, this is exactly what he means. Because is there an exactly what he means? No, right? There'll be the one for me and the one for you and the one for everybody else, which tells us the one I think is oh, that's what he means for me is not even it. Because Nagarjuna would say, come on, there isn't a what I really mean. Is there? That what I really mean has no nature. Which it seems to me like the 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 way we would be able to be aware that we're uh, getting it would be the extent that we could hold something appearing. Can't verbalize the extent to which we are aware of both sides of the coin when we're looking at either one side. Like the appearing nature and the empty nature. It feels to me that Arya Nagarjuna is trying to like coax us, push us, cajole us into the ability to be in, to know, lost my pen, to know emptiness by way of seeing something, right? Any experience, we would know it's emptiness. And anytime we thought of emptiness, there would have to be something that was empty for us to get there, right? Rather than as we go through our stages of learning about emptiness and dependent origination, we're still thinking they're two different things that have this relationship, that they both have to be there at the same time. But it feels to me like each one of his chapters is addressing the state of our mind that resists grappling with the fact that there's no emptiness without something, and there's no something without emptiness, and they aren't two separate things. They are, right? English would say the same thing, but that's not accurate either, right? I try to say they mutually support, they rise together, but the language fails completely. So we're getting closer and closer in our relationship with things as this pair. Could I get away with that? This pair in everything. But then what good does that do if we haven't tied it to karmic seeds ripening? And we don't hear him talking about that in this text. He doesn't say at the end of every chapter. And look, the reason, the ramification of things having no nature is that if you are kind, your experiences will get more pleasant. It's like, thank goodness we know the punchline. And so I tend to forget to apply that punchline at the end of class each time, except we do our dedication, to remind us that the reason we're grappling with all of this is so that to increase our impulses to be kind, even in the face of experiences where it doesn't even seem like the right thing to do. Okay, so let's do our opening. And then I thought maybe we would just like look at what each chapter is about and see if we could get onto chapter 10 and see why we would study chapter 10. And, again, if we get there, great. If we don't, that's okay too. All right. So Elsie is again at the top of my screen. Will you introduce us, please?
Here I've made a song for you on the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this text is called Prasna Nama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Sere Siklu Jakashua. In English, we call it wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious gentle voice in his guides as a timid boy.
Thank you. Joanna, please, 1.1.
Thank you. I bow down to that highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one who teaches us to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest.
He doesn't say how our fantasies about that things exist are put to a final rest. About how things exist. Janet, 1.2, please.
I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence. Period. Nothing ends and nothing begins. Nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are any two the same.
That is still confusing, isn't it? For me. Seems like things end and things begin. Seems like things come and go. Seems like things are different.
Not unless you insert the punchline.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Thank goodness we know the punchline. Roxana, 1.3, please.
Yes, Lama. Nothing grows from itself. Nothing grows from something else. Nothing grows from both. And nothing grows without a cause. There is nothing at all that grows at all. Share your thoughts, dear Holy Lama.
Right. So apparently, Buddha taught everything comes from causes and conditions. And he taught what comes to become, Abhidharma school of explaining, the all of existence. And he did teach it all comes from causes, deeds. This whole world, it's a result of causes and conditions, of which our karma, that either somehow contributes, or like from early school, he's not saying things are nothing but karma yet. He's not saying that yet. Like every existing thing has to have a cause. We agree. And then somewhere along the line, Buddha says, well, in fact, those causes and conditions that everything relies upon, they have no nature. It's apparently what Buddha said in Second Turning of the Wheel. He didn't say they didn't exist. He said all those existing things and their causes and conditions, and the one who experiences them, all of them have no nature. But he didn't say have no nature of their own. He says they have no nature at all. And it seems funny, why didn't he say have no nature of their own? Because then it's like, it feels like when you hear those extra words added, oh, I can understand. They only have the nature that I give them. But can you feel the difference that when we say they have no nature versus the pen is a thing that I give its nature, my experience makes it unique to me. The difference is whether the thing, some nebulous, non-specific, pennish thing, is there that then I fill in its details. Versus no nature, we can't even say it's a nebulous thing waiting for its identity if it has no nature. So if we really can be aware of our mind when we hear that teaching, nothing has any nature, we automatically fall off that cliff of, well, no nature at all, then at every level you go looking for the thing's nature, you won't find anything. Nothing. It implies that nothing exists at all. But that's inconsistent with experience. Even ignorant experience, right? Things exist. How do we know? Because I have perception. To perceive something is to exist. And, we get taught what's the definition of an existing thing? That which is perceived by a valid perception. And we think that what we're learning is a set of words that have meaning, that tells us what it means to be an existing thing. But actually, those words are describing experience. So when we say define existence, how we know existence is by way of perceiving something. So our very perception, correct, incorrect, valid, accurate, right? It doesn't matter what. Just to perceive establishes existence. What exists? Well, that's when we get into right? We would say, depends on what school you're in. So Nagarjuna is trying to help us push ourselves past our comfort level of things don't exist with any nature of their own, but allow us to sit in that, but they still exist in some way. And he's wanting us to push that envelope. So in this opening, he says, I bow at Buddha's feet because he taught us how to stop our wrong belief in how things exist, not that they exist or not, but how they exist. And then Buddha said, no, nothing comes from itself. Nothing comes from something else. Nothing comes from both. Nothing comes without a cause. Nothing grows at all. And again, we want to say, in the way that we believe. Or we could say, in a way that's not unique to me, which leaves it open for things to grow by way of my experience of something growing. But then is it growing or, right? So again, we're playing with words. We're using words to try to crack through this color of our mind of things have their own existence. I have my own existence, and we come together in ways that are pleasant and unpleasant, and that's existence. So he says everything comes from a cause, but causes, but then what happens doesn't seem to be able to work at all. Like it's confusing, this opening statement. And he's just reiterating what Buddha said in Second Turning of the Wheel. So then in our first chapter, if you recall, it's the analysis of conditions, meaning causes and conditions, the analysis of the usual kinds of causes and conditions that we believe bring things about. And he outlined these different kind of causes, and early in this chapter, and he says, these are the different kinds of causes in our human world, and there's no other kind. So that by the time we go and analyze each of these different kinds of conditions for bringing something else about, if we can say, well, that can't work like that, right? That there's no, that we can't say, well, there's some other way things work. But there is an other way things work. Ripening out of karmic seeds. Why isn't that the fifth condition? It's like somehow we'd be thinking of it wrongly if we were to say, oh yeah, karmic seeds is the fifth kind of condition, fifth kind of cause for things. We would misunderstand what we mean by things coming out of our seeds. So, I mean, just I'm hearing this download come through, right? I'm listening to you. I'm one of you listening. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've been misunderstanding even what I mean by something coming out of my karmic seeds all this time, because I think my karmic seeds are making something then be a thing with its own nature. And right, the thing I perceive as having its own nature is not here, even when my karmic seeds are trying to make it. I mean, they're not doing that, but do you see the stain is even in my understanding of karmic seeds? So, we've got 27 chapters, 26 more chapters to help us find where that stain of ignorance shows up all the way along to how we become Buddha, which is like those last 3 chapters, apparently. I hope we actually get there someday. So anyway, first chapter is looking at all the different kinds of causes to see if, in fact, they really can be the causes for the things that we think that they are. And we went through chapter 1 with him. Oh, yeah, that's a conundrum. Oh, yeah. And by the end, he's saying none of those causes and conditions have any natures. And our Kachik goes, like we said, yes, 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 yes. But in the end, it's like, no, right? And our reaction is, we'll wait, but I do stuff, right? I do make things happen. I've agreed that nothing can make anything happen. But then I get up and go make a cup of tea and drink it. Come on, Nagarjuna. It cannot be that my function has no nature. Cannot be. And he doesn't address our Kachik straight up. He goes deeper, deeper, deeper. With each one of the Kachiks, he takes the concern and he tries to get deeper in it. So he says, let's check out going and coming. Because in order to do anything, we have to go, right? We have to come, we have to go. We have to move in some way in order to get to do whatever it is we're doing. Whether you move in space or just move in time, there has to be a me and a something or somewhere, and I have to go there in order for me to do whatever I'm going to do. So he says, let's look at that. Going and coming. And so we checked out literally, how do we go somewhere? And that's such a fun chapter. And he keeps coming back to it in other chapters. He'll say it's just like the coming and going, which that one was, if you're not a goer, that's your identity. How can all of a sudden you be a goer? Like, what has to happen? At what moment does it happen? What makes it happen? What establishes that it has happened? So we would say, I was a goer because I got somewhere new. And like, until you get someone new, you're still a goer, but then that means you can't ever be a getter there because you're still going, and it's like, we take it so for granted. I get up, I go to the kitchen, I go from the kitchen, I come back here. And it just seems so obvious that, I don't know, the cause was I was able to, I don't know, move my body, right? I'm alive, I can move. Yes, Janet.
I wish Louisa was here, but maybe she's listening to the recording.
Yes.
There's that line from Chandrakirti where, there's a great earthquake, and then you wake up and you're surrounded by teachers and you feel such joy. And I feel like she's experienced that because she loves these teachings and she wants to share them with people, and her joy, and she's got this joy even though she's got her frustrations too.
Sweet.
And I mean, for me, like when we were talking about helping someone, like Pauline was gonna help someone memorize something so I would remember. And that was just so different than what their regular response was. But
Yes.
after she did that, after she said that, I feel like the teachings just came to me. I'd be doing a review and they'd just come to me and everything
Sweet.
changed after that. So I had that experience of the earthquake
Yay.
and then waking up and feeling joy. And
Yay.
I guess when you know you're going, it's like you feel a lot of happiness when you start
Yes.
going. You feel like you can't help but feel happy. And It's like the world is different. It's like you don't struggle as much. It's like the things that you need, or maybe those things were always there and we just didn't see it. I don't know.
Sweet. Very sweet. Thanks, Janet. Yeah, and like another way to analyze our going and coming, it isn't literally physically going, but the the emotional, mental emotional going of the change that we're experiencing. And we would look at it the same way. Do we think it's coming from something, or do we realize that that whole sequence that Janice just described of the impact that Pauline had on her shifted things, that right? Pauline was an agent of Janet's wonderful ripenings. And those seeds have been accumulating and shifting and, changing with everything that Janet has done. And Pauline got to play this beautiful part in it. And like a huge rejoiceable, showing us all how we intertwine with each other. And some like seemingly simple statement can be the thing that opens a doorway for somebody. Nice. So going and coming does happen, right? Janet has gone from one state of heart to another, and may you never go back, right? You can't go back, right? Only grow. So to say going and coming has no nature means it can happen. But our Kachik hears going and coming has no nature. And we think, oh, so Nagarjuna is saying it doesn't happen. Can you feel the difference? Going and coming has no nature. Yes. So technically I can go anywhere, I can come anywhere, right? If it's coming from seeds, if I had the seeds that ripened, me going to Joanna's house just by thinking it, it would happen. There's no reason we couldn't do that.
But in some bizarre way, we're doing it with Zoom, aren't we?
We are. We are. No, we're ripening seeds and we're planting as well to be able to do it. So yes. So feel that, like, I feel like I've got these twins, the me that's trying to get the instant reaction of analysis of coming and going has no nature, see, and be able to go, oh, yay, versus coming and going has no nature. What? I still have both those reactions. So the what me goes, come on, Nagarjuna. It can't be true that there's no coming and going because I experience things. Why does Kachik say that in relation to no coming and going? I experience myself walking over to the neighbor's house. So I see it, I hear it, I smell it, I taste it, I feel it. Come on, Nagarjuna, you can't say it doesn't happen. Did Nagarjuna say it doesn't happen? No. But is there a part of my mind that thinks that's his conclusion, like falls to that conclusion when I hear there coming going has no nature? That's what I'm trying to get to get. So the next chapter, he says, okay, if your experience that we have through our sense powers is what establishes something to be what they are, then let's investigate one of those powers to see how it works, to see how it would work if it were what established the existence of something. And it's like, but wait, we started out saying, how do you establish something exists? By perceiving it. So, and now he's going to say, look, you think you see something? And that makes it exist? No nature in that either. So he went through if the eye, so the powers, the eye power is the eyeball, you know, and all the mechanism through which colors and shapes are picked up, ear, smell, you know. So he went through the ramifications. If the eyeball is doing the seeing, then it shouldn't depend on anything about what it sees to be able to see. So it should be able to see everything. And it itself is a thing. So the eyeball should be able to see itself if it's the eyeball that sees. And that's his premise. And then he goes into all the different little ramifications of how if the eyeball can't see itself, then it can't see anything. And, you know, it's like my puny logic goes, no, of course it can't see itself. It is itself. And of course it can see everything else because that's what eyeballs do, right? I hear his logic and I don't buy it. I don't give up my wrong way of thinking, even though he's shown me how illogical my belief is. And then he said, go back and do the same thing with hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, meaning establish how, if those powers were able to do what we think that they do on their own, then how should we be experiencing things? And is that consistent with how we actually experience things? And we did that. It was a fun investigation to see that our sense powers have no natures. And that one feels a little bit easier to me to not fall off the cliff of they don't exist at all, to hear they have no nature, but to recognize, no, you know, the nature of my eyes and their function is that there has to be something to see, right? And they have to be healthy, and right, there are other factors involved for me to know what it is I'm seeing, and all that has to come together. And that must be what he means by the eye power has no nature of its own, because it's a thing there that relies on other things for it to function. But is that the level he's really wanting us to go? No. To come to the conclusion my eyeball only works when it's tied to a brain, and a brain tied to a heart, and a heart tied to experience, that's it is true, but that's not deep enough. Why not? Does it mean the eyeball doesn't need a brain and it doesn't need? No, of course it does. But what does all of that depend upon? Me experiencing it.
Karma seeds ripening, right?
Exactly. Karmic seed ripening is the punchline. Thank goodness we know it. So our karmic seeds ripen that we need an eyeball with a retina, with those eighth nerve or whatever nerve that is, with a thing in the back of our head, you know, the science. Our karmic seed's ripening that we need that. But technically, you don't need that to see. Don't they say that Buddhas see out of every aspect of their being? Like they see out of their big toe. I see you. I see you. Because you don't need eyeballs to see. We need the karma to see. And Buddhas have the merit, right, of everything at every time. I do line dance on Fridays. And there's one song, I don't even know who it's by, but it's called Absolutely Everything. And it's a sweet dance that goes with it. But the song goes, you know, absolutely everything for everybody. And I just keep hearing that refrain again and again. And it sounds so, you know, ultimate, like, may I be absolutely everything for everybody, right? As we're going through this sequence.
But isn't it like peeling the onion, dear Lama, that we're just peeling, as what Janet was saying, and how she sees things and feels things, and how everything is waking up. It's just layer by layer, taking it away.
Right. And I know my mind still hears that analogy, and I keep thinking, I peel the onion away to get to its center. And the whole point is when you do get to the center of the onion, there's nothing there, right? It's a hole. And it's like, no, there's not. There's that teeny little thing inside there at the very, very beginning. And so I'm still thinking layer of onion, I'm going to find the deepest layer. Right? No.
So what would be the core?
Yeah, the core in Buddhism is I use the term profound dependence to mean nothing there from its own side. Whatever is there is ripening seeds. Like you reach a sense of the process happening, not a thing there, but not an emptiness either, right? You're not going to drill down, and then find emptiness, because there has to be something there to be empty.
Right.
We're going to keep drilling down to find that, oh my gosh, there's no end to the drilling.
So it would be the core of our pure understanding of the nature of things, right?
Yeah, when we finally reach the understanding of things, we could say we're at the core. We could say that the drilling down took us to what we needed to get. It might be more, accurate for our purposes. If you're
Right.
trying to explain it to somebody, you say you drill down to the core, and when you get to the core, it's like a donut. It's a hole in the middle, right? The availability in the middle.
Right.
But for our purposes, right, the core has no nature either. And one of those methods of doing an emptiness meditation is to, right, you go looking for the label, you go looking for the thing that gets the label, and you don't find it, you find something more subtle getting a label. And you'll never go down to where you remove a label and you find nothing. It's just that our mind will finally catch on. It's like, oh, there's no end to this. And you'll turn around and come back up going, right, seed ripen nothing but, seed ripen nothing but, seed ripen nothing but, and it builds back up again. And you can go back, you can go in and you can come out, recognizing that there's never a place where you reach, oh, this is truth. It's the process.
So it means that we can never trace the first seed we plant.
Right. So we hear him say, look, those sense powers that you are saying prove that the causes that you see happening are really the causes, or that you say prove that you yourself is someone who can cause something to happen. Those powers, sense powers, they have no nature. He shows us in chapter 3, they have no nature. And if we're following along and understanding, we go, oh, wow, cool, right? And we can quit studying the book. If our Kachik goes, no, I do so have eyes and ears, and right. Our Kachik says, no. Buddha taught I'm made of my 5 heaps. My first heap is my heap of physical form. It must exist. My heaps must exist because Buddha taught that I'm made up of 5 heaps and I'm here. So I must have 5 heaps. So you can't tell me my sense powers don't exist, Nagarjuna, because they make up my first heap. And Buddha said I have heaps. Sa, Nagarjuna. Did Buddha say we don't have sense powers? No. Like poor Nagarjuna, he must be going, I didn't say that. I said they have no nature. Yeah, but. So we say, no, I do so exist. I do so have sense powers because I have my 5 heaps. He goes, okay, let's look at the heap of form.
Lama, then it reminds me of, my mom always tells me she's hard of hearing. So when you talk to her, sometimes you need to talk louder or you need to repeat several times. But sometimes when we are whispering among our siblings, things that we don't want her to know, she can hear it. That's the beauty part of it. So
Right?
when
True. That's a good one. So we said I do so exist, I do so function, my eyes do so see things because I have my 5 heaps. And then Buddha says, or Nagarjuna says, okay, let's investigate the heap of form. What causes form? Like, how do we establish form? And he went into causes. Well, wait a minute. We're back in that everything comes from causes and conditions, says Buddha, but causes and conditions can't work. And here he's saying, let's look at the causes for a form, for the heap of form. And what causes your form to become the result of form? And what comes first? Right? I don't remember specifically this chapter 4 so much. Trying to find the the one verse that gives it to us. There it is. If form were to exist, a cause of form would be incorrect. If, on the other hand, form doesn't exist, then a cause of form is still incorrect. Forms that had no cause would be incorrect, absolutely incorrect. So no one should ever imagine an idea of any form at all. Well, what happens to my form while I'm hearing him say, quit imagining that you have any form at all? It doesn't melt away. And then he goes on to say, it's true of your other heaps. And he says, when someone has come and argued for emptiness, any response that anybody gives is just proof of the emptiness argument, which is always a fun one. Like every criticism of your explanation of emptiness is proof of emptiness, because you're understanding the explanation and they're not. And which says that there's no self-existent truth to the message, which makes it possible for the message to be true. Ouch. So bottom line, chapter 4, those parts to you, your 5 heaps, they have no nature. Are we getting it? They have no nature, which is why we can have them. If they had their natures of their own, we couldn't experience ourselves in the way that we do, because they would determine what we experience, and they would determine what we experience the same every single time, because if they have their own nature, they don't depend on anything. And hear how ridiculous it is to say something has its own nature. But we think, oh, something can have its own nature and it can depend on other things. And we're perfectly okay with that. And Nagarjuna says, logically, that doesn't make sense. And we'll just go on trying to get happiness in all the wrong places if we let ourselves go on believing that something can have its own nature and exist independently and at the same time depend on any other things, even conventional other things, worldly other things. And especially if we think things can have their own nature and I can experience it in one way and you can experience it in a different way. Like that's the source of conflict, isn't it? Because if the Chinese food restaurant qualities are in it, that it's the better place to go. And the Mexican food restaurant has the qualities in it, that's the better place to go. How can they both? And no wonder, right? 2 people might fight over it. When in fact, the Chinese food can be better than the Mexican food for one person and not be better for the other person. And like, really, that is the way it is. And when we understand it, there'd be no reason to argue about it. And when we understand it more deeply, we'd go to the place that the other person wants to go to, even when we want to go to the other one. And how many times would we do that? Over and over and over again. And then, human nature is eventually, well, we always go where you want to go. We never go where I want to go. Women in particular, we're raised in this way somehow to always defer. And eventually our feelings get hurt. And it's right? It's because our ignorance is still kicking in. If we are wisdom insisting to go to the place where they want to go every single time, how long can that go before seed ripening shift happens? That the places you go are the places that are your preference, not in the sense of you can stand there and go, I say we go here, here, and there, but in the sense that your experience of everywhere you go is exactly where you would want to go. Even if the decision to go there was, we'll go where you want to go. Like our karmic seeds would force us to see anywhere we are as where we want to be. And we may still end up going to their favorite restaurant and never getting to go to ours, but our experience would be different. Like it would become our favorite too. Do you see that the whole shift? If the restaurants had any nature of their own, that could not happen. The fact that they don't means it can. And, you know, as growing practitioners, we're somewhere in between. trying to contribute to this shift, but maybe maybe experiencing it sometimes and not others. Yes, Janet.
But I mean, as we go on, he talks about the viewer, the object, and then the quality of the interaction in between. So and then I think Master Shanti Deva said if you analyze anger, you could see how important is it that you're angry over something. And both of them are leading to it's the quality of the interaction that people it's what obscures you. It's like you set the room on fire and there's smoke everywhere and then it's in your clothes and in your hair. So the
Yeah.
quality of the interaction is like that incense or that smoke.
Right.
And the things that are instigating are the things that we think are important. The movie or the food that we go eat are actually not the important thing. It's the quality of the interaction.
Yes.
That's the smoke, that's the instance or smoke that sticks in our clothes.
Right.
And I guess at some point that it's not going to be that way anymore, but at the point that we're at, that is sort of what's going on. I mean, I was trying to give my supervisor information, and she said I was just being angry all the time. So the fact that I had to repeat myself 3 times or more, I actually stop after 3 times and I don't say anything.
Yeah.
But the fact that she sensed that I wasn't angry, I just was repeating myself a lot.
Yeah.
That's all she remembered. She didn't remember the information I was trying to give her.
Yeah.
And then I had to sit her down and say, well, but I'm when I speak, I'm just trying to give you information. And I don't think she got that either.
Yeah.
That, this is information.
Uh-huh.
And then she holds it to me. Well, when I tell you something, you're not supposed to do something. And I was like, bitch in parentheses. When I tell you something, you're supposed to remember. But then this is my seed, right? I see this.
Right.
So I mean, why be mean to her really? Because in the bigger picture, I have obscurations and I don't see what's going on. And um, in being a bump on the log, it's coming across like I'm being angry. There's nothing I can do about that. That was the recommendation, is to be the bump on the log and not say anything.
Yeah.
So then there's something going on with her seeds too. There's gotta be, because
Right.
I don't
There.
say anything after a certain point.
Yeah. 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 Because that she's going to interpret that too, according to her seeds. Right. And you're right, it's very astute. Like how do we interact? Right. Our responsibility is for the seeds that we plant. Our responsibility is to understand the experiences, the ripening of past. And now our task is to the best of our ability, plant seeds that will be more pleasant when they ripen. Our responsibility is their morality isn't our responsibility in the sense of making them behave in the way that we think that they should. Because we can't, right? No matter what we do. The best we can do is set example. And you are trying to give information. It's her seeds ripening to perceive that as anger or hostility. And then what would happen with me in a situation like that is I would then get angry and hostile because of her misperception of me, and I would perpetuate this cycle, either with her or with somebody else. So, you're absolutely, what you're explaining is very insightful. And at some point, it's like she's still manifesting these old nasty me seeds. And I regret I was like that. I'll try harder.
Well, I just stopped talking about the Worcester sauce or the little tiny details that weren't important. I recognize they're not important. So I
Right.
just didn't say anything at all. But
Drop
even
it.
not saying anything at all.
Yeah, right. It's still
So that's
making
very interesting to me that I didn't say anything after a while because they weren't important anyway, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still a choice of behavior. Yes, Elsie.
Lama, this conversation has got me to realize that I should be rejoicing for some of the things that have been happening to me. Because every time I ask Ken where he wants to go and eat, he'll say, it's up to you. I just go along. And I can, what? You really need to make all the decisions? No, I get so frustrated. So today, hey, that's a good seat. I can go wherever I want to go.
There you go.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yay. Yay, another shift. Hooray. Nice. Let's take our break. So we've been following along with Arya Nagarjuna. Fourth chapter says, those 5 heaps, they have no nature. What is Kachik? Like, how does Kachik answer that? I have to peek at the chapter because it's like there's zillions of directions you could go, right? Kachik is going, I do so exist. I do so exist. And then what would our reason, what would our reason be to say I do so exist? So apparently Kachik says it's not true that my heaps don't exist because I have desire. Right? So remember, our heaps form, feeling, discriminating between things, all the other factors that make me up, and then the awareness through which I know all those other things. And so feeling is thumbs up, thumbs down. And what drives us is that the me that has all those 5 heaps wants thumbs up and wants to avoid thumbs down, which means what drives my me is wanting. Right? I want pleasure. I want to avoid displeasure. So even aversion is a kind of desire. So we must say, wait, Kachik is not stupid. Kachik says, I do so have 5 heaps because I have desire, right? The heap of feeling. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Save that for 5 to 6. This is from 4 to 5. I missed it. I just saw space. It's like, wait, space doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. Oops. Parts of a person. He said, our heaps have no nature. We say, yes, they do, because Buddha taught my heap of form is made up of the elements. So Buddha said so, they must exist. What elements? Earth, water, fire, wind, space. Nagarjuna could have said, all right, let's investigate Earth. But he says, okay, let's investigate space. Your heap, your element of space, because it's the hardest one to understand. And the ramification of investigating the element of space helps plant the seeds for us to be able to be aware of space with the appearance of anything. And that plants seeds for us to be aware of emptiness with the appearance of anything, which is where we're trying to go. So to investigate this thing called space, we have to be able to define it. And by defining it, we don't mean tell the words of what it means. We mean how to experience that, how to recognize it's there. Right? How to have a valid perception of space is what it means to define it. To distinguish it as being there means define. So, is space there before we define it? Another way to say it is, can you establish anything's presence before we can establish anything's presence? Like when we say it like that, it's ridiculous. No. Can you establish space, the presence of space, if you can't establish what space is? No. Even if it was all around you, if you couldn't know space, there would be no space. If we didn't know pen, it doesn't matter how many you'd be holding, you would not be holding pen if you don't know pen. And that's proof that the object's identity is not in it, isn't it? Because if there's an object there, you couldn't not know it if its identity was in it. Yeah, but what about if it's only partly in it? 50-50 school. It's not full on pen until the perceiver establishes it, defines it, delineates it as pen. Okay, that is still enough. If we go on to ask, well, why do I delineate as pen instead of stick, instead of chew toy? There has to be a reason for that that's related to my mind, not related to the object. And then when we track that, right, we know the punchline, results of my past behavior. So even if we're at the level of things have some nature, that's okay, but it's my experience of it is unique to me. My experience of it is depending upon the level of my kindness from before as to whether that experience will be pleasant or unpleasant. So really, in terms of functioning in our practice, we don't have to drill down so deeply to find that going for the core that we're never going to find. But ultimately speaking, if we believe there's something there that receives my karmic seeds to make it what's there, it means that when we're thinking about ourself, there's something there that our seeds are filling in what it is. But as long as that something there is something whose identity is suffering, there's something we can't change. Even when it's our own perception of some part of me that has its own nature, we wouldn't be able to change it. So it really is necessary to reach the truth of that no self nature, the no nature of our me, so that our Buddha me can come about. As long as there's some self nature to me, we're stuck. There isn't a self nature to me, never has been, never will be, but we believe so strongly that there is, that it blocks us from even our best kindness karmic seeds ripening into Buddha me and Buddha paradise emanating. Right? That's self-existent me. Not self-existent as independent of any other factor, but self-existent meaning independent of karmic seeds ripening and nothing but. Yes, Janet.
Chapter 18 is analysis of self. It's rather unfortunate that that Geshe Michael didn't give us that chapter. And then one of the Thursday nights at Deer Park, he decided to do a meditation and it would be analysis on self.
Ah,
And
nice.
it was the same one that was online that Lama Zopa from California did. And at the end, like afterwards, like the next class, he said, how did that meditation on analyzing your existence of self go? And it's a pretty chatty group, and no one said anything. No one asked any questions.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like some of this, what he's doing is trying to set us up for this analysis. You
Yes,
know,
yes,
you look at this
absolutely.
analysis, you look at your six parts of your body, you look at the elements, um, you look at the the different qualities of things. Um, but yeah, I maybe I should just skip ahead and look at that chapter. But you know, the analysis of self and the analysis of time, I
Yeah,
talked to other students about it, and they tell me they answer my questions, but I haven't actually read it. But it seems like that is a lot of our misunderstanding. It's this grasping of self.
yes,
And then our sense of linear time, like this is the only way we experience things. And then we were
yeah,
talking about the bardo because you know Roxana has got these babies coming, but
yeah.
the people in the bardo don't experience time the way we experience
No,
them.
they don't. Neither do hell
So,
beings, any of them. Right. Yeah,
so this whole concept is helpful to us, but it's not really how time exists.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean that maybe this week if I should make a little carve a little time and look at that analysis of self because he seems to think that this is setting us up for whatever that meditation is.
I
And
agree totally. Yeah. The emptiness of self, they say, is the emptiness we perceive directly for the first time. We get there through the emptiness of things, but then the emptiness of self is this critical piece. And then your identity or your definition of self is going to change a whole lot. Okay, so Chapter 5 is analysis of the elements. And he addresses the elements by way of how we define them, meaning how we experience them, that establishes them as being what they are. And then he says, and if that's the case, then like, how does that actually work? Don't you have to have the element there in order to define it? Or does the definition make the element appear? You know, when does that actually happen? When the element's appearing, it's being defined. But who does that? Does the element make us do that? Or do we make the element do that? And if we make the element do that, doesn't have to be there for us to make it do something? It's like, come on, it's like we say our experience establishes something as true, but he says, look, our experience is faulty. So we really can't use experience as proof that things happen in the way that we experience them, because if it were true, then everybody would experience them the same way, and they don't. Like in some ways, his logic is so simple that it escapes us. And in other ways, it's so deep that I just can't follow. All right, we're going to do it without doing it. We're going to jump to the chase. Chapter 5, he says, so see, those elements have no nature. And when he hears himself say, see, those elements have no nature, for him, it's like, and so that's why they exist the way they do. And we can use them, and they make up our bodies that don't have any nature. So they exist the way they do for each of us. And right, our other heaps have no natures. And so, right, he's like, wow, see? And we're going, what? So our response then to, we have no causes, we have no coming and go, we have no power to come and go, we have no sense powers, we have no parts, we have no elements that make up those parts. That's when our critique goes, come on, Nagarjuna, I do so exist. Because we think he said all those things means we don't exist at all. I do so exist because I have desire. Like I have my heap of feeling, and that proves I exist. So we went into that desire and the things we desire to check out, does the desire come before or after the thing we desire? Does the thing we desire come before or after the desire that arises? How do those two things meet? Whether the thing we desire is something in our heap of form, or the thing we desire is something that's in all the other factors. Where do they touch the me who's having desire? And why am I having desire for this but not for that? Does the thing have the pleasantness in it or the unpleasantness in it? And that's why I desire it? Or do I have the desire in me and that's what makes the thing? You have to be there. The idea of berry pie has to be there. And the idea of berry pie as delicious has to be there. But then why is the deliciousness in berry pie and not in lima beans? So he goes through, how do we establish the thing as desirable. What makes something desirable? Am I separate from the desirable thing? I have to be separate, don't I? I have to be other than berry pie in order to want berry pie. If I'm the same as berry pie, there's no need to want it. I am it. I have it. If I have berry pie all the time, there's no need to want it. I want something because I don't have it. And I think it's going to bring me pleasure. We don't want the things we have. Yeah, but we want to keep them. Yeah, that's different. So is the one who has desire and the thing that we are desiring, are we two distinct separate things? Are we partly separate things? How does that work? If they're completely separate things, how and when can they ever interact? If they're not separate things, it means they're one and the same thing. They can't interact. They're the same thing. What's going on? You know, karmic seeds ripening, mental images. Apparently, anything can be anything in a mental image. I'm still working that one out. How come a mental image can make, I mean, I know what it's trying to say, but when I get in there and really try to figure it out, I don't understand why mental images can work any better than anything else. And of course they can't. Yes, Roxana.
Thank you. But for example, mental images, and I'm thinking of Geshe is using skillful means with us when he shares his idioms. He's putting a picture, trying to remember certain specific information about the teaching.
Right.
So, I mean, that specific image has a message attached to it. And depending on who's receiving it in the experience of that message, right, is the teaching.
Right. But wouldn't we say that it's true that if you put that image up and have not heard his explanation, it would not necessarily give the teaching that he is using it to give. There's nothing in the idiom.
Right, but that's the emptiness of the image.
Right. Right. So exactly.
But what I mean is, he relies on skillful means when we're talking about images, about an idiom, right? Because you said an image can be anything. I am
Right.
still working that out, and just popped to my mind how he's
Right.
using those specific images, and he even says, "Oh, and you can do this, and you can look for that," and
Oh,
you.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Right. To help us understand our mental images better.
Right, right.
Yes, good. I get it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah, you know, a mental image coming out of seeds. There has to be a first moment. There has to be a staying moment. And then there'll be an ending moment, right? Pot on stove experience. And it's like the mental image ripens as the full-on pot on stove. Technically, me seeing pot on stove is what's ripening out of that seed, the experience, whether it's visual, auditory, it doesn't matter. And there had to be a start, a stay, and an end to that. that seed ripening experience is a functioning thing. But we had that whole chapter, or maybe we haven't gotten there yet, that there's no such thing as a functioning thing. That's not a karmic seed ripening. But wait a minute. Karmic seed ripenings are functioning things that don't have any nature of their own. Like, see, that I just really hit a wall. Like, how can a karmic seed ripen into me experiencing you in this class hearing? How can all that be karmic seeds ripening when karmic seeds have no natures? Right? Of course they have no nature so that they can ripen exactly what we're experiencing. But wait, how come they can ripen a full-on experience, but the experience itself can't happen? Right? I'm hitting my own self-existence. Yes, Joanna.
I just have a question for understanding. Does it mean that mental image always necessarily has to be visual?
No.
Because you also said auditory.
Yeah.
And then is it used equivalent to seed? Because the seed has
right.
like the feeling and like all the five heaps that we have, that they include so much more than just the.
Right.
So the image that we are talking about, the mental image, can contain all of it?
It contains all of that, right? So when
Oh, okay.
when this tradition uses that term mental image, it's what arises when the seed opens, right? He describes like there's this silver seed and something happens, it cracks open and out comes this experience. We're calling that experience a mental image because it really is it's movement of the mind. And the term Lama Christie would always use is mental image. It's a mental image, it's a mental image. But it does include the entire experience coming out of this seed. And then it's like, the pot is out there and the mental image goes and lands on the pot, covering it like chocolate sauce on the ice cream. But technically, even the pot to be covered, the thing to be covered with pot on stove is also part of the seed ripening mental image, right? The data is part of it. And when we go looking at the data, we just find the same process happening down, 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 and back, back, back. So yeah, the term mental image means the experience.
So even a
Yeah,
blind person could see emptiness.
Yeah.
Even a blind person could see emptiness directly. Their mental image would be just not including the visual, not as we have
Right.
the visual, but
Right.
they would have the experience, and the experience in all of
Right.
its. Okay.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Mental image means the result coming out of the karmic seed. Yeah. Yes, Pauline.
Teacher, I think it's because we are still, when Goshi Michael share his experience, we are still thinking of the thing that happens self-existently. It's like
Yes.
word fails, but he still need to explain to us. But when we hear it, we still visualizing it like happening self-existently. So it's like it's true, word fails. He cannot, because until we achieve DPE, we won't be able to understand how the thing really happened in the ultimate reality form. But we are still visualizing it like self-existently. That's the challenge, because word
Right.
fails, but he still needs to let us understand, right? So we
Right.
still have to learn and understand self-existently, and then until we reach the time where we can actually see emptiness directly and understand how it really happened. So that's the
Right.
challenge. Yeah.
It is. It is. Yeah, well put.
So it's not easy.
Right. Our personal experience will be unique to us.
Yeah.
It will have certain qualities and profound impact. Oh, but it's not like, well, I better get up and put water on a pot to boil every day and go stare at it and wait for my experience of seeing it to ripen. But rather, we want to be on alert for any moment of experience of, oh my gosh, right? There's the overlay. There's the overlay happening. And what I take from his teachings after years of cooking is like, be on alert for that moment. And no matter where you are, what you're doing, go meditate afterwards. Like it's an opportunity, seeds ripening. And go meditate on what just happened. And run your mind through, oh my gosh, everything's just an overlay like that. Everywhere I look, it's just an overlay. And that will help you drill down through if you take away the label, what's there. And the momentum will theoretically would push you into the direct perception of emptiness if we have the capacity to reach that deep level of meditation. Which my guess is, even if you're not regularly an hour of shamatha a day, if you're trying, that when you have this momentum built up of seeing the seed ripening and you go meditate, you'll have the momentum to shoot yourself into shamatha, even if you've never fully been there before. This is my own explanation, not scripture. So be prepared at any moment, call work. So sorry, I'm going to be a half hour late. Go meditate. Seriously. Yeah, Pauline.
But I think it helps for Gershon Michael to relate his experience.
Yes.
Until such time where basing on my own wisdom now, at least it helps me understand.
Right.
Even though it's self-existently, but at least we have an idea how it is. So when it happens, then we know that it's happening.
Exactly.
No,
right.
we wouldn't
Imagine
know.
it. Yeah.
We wouldn't know that, oh, this is happening, then we should quickly go and meditate or something.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it's good that he shares his experience.
Yes. Yes. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
Very helpful to even imagine it the way he describes it.
Good. Thanks.
Okay. Where are we? Chapter 6. Desire and the one who feels it. And then it's like, all right, I'm with you here, Nagarjuna. Thus it is that the two of desire and the person who feels it cannot exist either as two things together or as things which are not together. And just as with desire, there are no other things which can exist as together or not together. So see, to say, I do so exist because I have desire does not prove that you exist. Right? It ties into where Janet pointed out, chapter 18, does the self exist or not? That's the wrong question, isn't it? How does the self exist? We're trying to end our fantasy about how the self exists, not whether it exists or not. And like if we were tuned into that, our Kachik would not say all of this, because Nagarjuna would be pointing out not whether or not we exist, but how we exist. Not this way, not that way, not that way, not that way. But not at all. Come on, you guys, says Nagarjuna. What's wrong with you? Of course we exist. But not independent of any moment of experience. Okay. So what does Kachik say in response to you and the desire you feel? You can't establish either one as existing with its own nature. You can't establish any one of those as having a nature. Right? Is his conclusion. We can say as having a nature of their own, and it's okay, that feels better. But he says they have no nature. Where does Kachik go with that? No. I do stuff, right? I am so a functioning thing. Don't tell me I have no nature. I can make my car start. I can share a Dharma class. I do so function. And so chapter 7 is, how do we define a functioning thing? How do we know a thing is a functioning thing? It makes something start, right? It makes something do something that it wasn't doing before. So the functioning thing impacts something else. And then that something else has to start. And just starting isn't the function, it has to stay. And then it has to end. Somehow, in order for the function to be a function, it has to finish functioning to be able to say that function happened. While it's happening, it's happening. So it's not complete yet. So then to say, I exist because I'm a functioning thing, that means we need to be able to establish a moment when I started writing with the pen. And then we have to be able to establish the period of time I'm staying writing with the pen. And then we have to be able to establish when writing with the pen ends, to be able to say, see, I'm an existing thing because I function to write something because it's done. It seems like a really convoluted way to prove I'm a functioning thing, but how else would you prove it that other than establishing what it is to know we are a functioning thing, or a thing is a functioning thing? We have to know what defines it. We have to know how to recognize it. So that chapter 7, do you remember it? He went into investigating how you establish the start of something. And it was that amazing semantics. I can imagine translating from either Sanskrit or Tibetan to get the start of the starting, to establish when the thing starts. And it was like we followed it. Do you remember? I don't know, it seemed like we were following it because the conclusion came so clearly. It's like something else is going on here. Yes, I pick up the pen, I start to write with it, and then the starting turns into the doing, and the doing comes to an end, but the actual moment, you can't find it. Is it the moment I pick up the pen? Is it the moment I click the pen? Is it the moment the first ink goes on the page? Is it the moment I think about picking up the pen to when do you become the functioning thing? if you can't find it, how can you say I exist because I'm a functioning thing? Maybe there's a other reason for saying why I exist. Maybe saying why I exist is the wrong question or answer. How we exist would be better. Chapter 7. Function has no nature. Functioning things have no nature. Starting has no nature. Staying has no nature. Stopping has no nature. So I, the functioning thing, has no nature. I feel my reaction. Do it again. So I can't do anything, Nagarjuna. So I don't exist, Nagarjuna. No, Sarani. Right? At any instance of time where there is a starting, this thing in the act of starting is occurring. How could you say that there is this thing in the act of starting all dependent upon some starting? At the same time, it could never exist. I'm not following that. But it's, basically this idea is you can't find the moment of starting. So if something depends on starting for its function and you can't find when it starts, you're stuck. Anything occurring in dependence in and of itself peace. And so this very thing in the act of starting and the starting as well are nothing but peace. Like that's a little slippery. Peace means free of mental afflictions. To occur in independence, I don't think here means to pick up the pen occurs in dependence upon the pen. I think he means when we understand dependence accurately, right? Seed ripening, me picking up pen, making things start. Seed ripening, me functioning thing, like hyphenate it into all one thing. When we understand that, we have it right. And peace would mean nirvana, which would mean free of being mentally afflicted. It's not that our karmic seeds might not still ripen, me experiencing a mental affliction, but our experience of that would be it coming out of past behavior. So we would not be afflicted by having the affliction. We wouldn't react badly to it. We would burn it off and plant kindness. When our mind is the peace that is aware of the actual dependence that's happening in starting, staying, stopping. Let's get to chapter 8. So see, to say I do so exist because I'm a functioning thing isn't a valid argument for existing. It's an explanation of existing. Your start, stay, stop have no nature. Your function has no nature. What does Kachik say? Man, chapter 7 goes on forever. Thank you, Nagarjuna, for chapter 7. What's his conclusion? Produced things cannot at all exist. And so how could existing entities which are not produced ever happen? He said that things start and stay and end in the very same way as a dream, as an illusion, as a city of the spirits. We experience things functioning because our karmic seeds ripen us to experience things functioning. And so they function, but they don't function in the way we think they do, which is by some factor that comes from some interaction between me, it, and something else. The way things function is like in a dream. What does Kachik say? It seems like we're saying the same thing. Because chapter 8 is an investigation of agents and actions. So we just went into functioning things, but we must say, nah, Nagarjuna, I do so, take the key and start the car. I do so, eat oatmeal. I act. Maybe Kachik is even more sophisticated, and we pick up on things function because of dependence, meaning my seeds ripen that function. But to plant the karmic seed, you have to do something. So, got you, Nagarjuna. It takes an action. It takes producing something in order to make the seed that is the dependence that allows me to do something later, something again. So maybe that's why it seems like chapter 8 is just reiterating chapter 7 in a different perspective. Maybe it's really talking about planting our karmic seeds by way of our action and believing that there's some nature to planting karmic seeds. Like, does planting karmic seeds have no nature of its own? Right, the answer has to be yes, right? Well, if planting karmic seeds has no nature, how does it happen? And you know the punchline, because it has no nature of its own, it can happen. If it had its own nature, it couldn't happen. So maybe that's where chapter 8 is going. An agent does not imply that something becomes an action. Just because you're an agent doesn't mean something becomes an action. Just because I'm a car turner oner, it does not mean the car's going to start. But wait, if the car doesn't start, then I never was a car starter. I was a trier to start the car and it didn't work her. It gets slippery, chapter 8. Yes, Janet.
So Master Chandra Kirti, like he comments on this book, but he also comments on the Dasha Humiki Sutra, which is the 10 Bhumis. So his take on this is a bodhisattva who has just crossed beyond the path of difficult to overcome, the fifth bhumi will enter the sixth bhumi in 10 different ways. So this is one of the 10 different ways. It's the equality of primordial absence from the birth of any of the four extremes. Things exist, things don't exist, both and neither. So
Okay.
he's saying that we're entering at this point from the fifth into the sixth bhumi, and we're going to do it with there is no arising nor production of phenomena, that things, the equality of primordial absence of birth from any of the four extremes. So from Master Shankarati's point of view, which he's using that text with the 10 bhumis, he's saying that now we're going from 5 to 6. But I mean, this question about whether this is all linear, whether
Right.
you
Right.
go through all that,
Right.
but
Good
that's a
point.
whole different conversation.
It is. And
And
that's
then,
related to chapter 8 here, are you saying?
well, if you're gonna do the Master Chandrakirti, which is a really popular commentary,
Yeah.
and he's also doing another text, and this other text is talking about crossing over, difficult to overcome,
Right.
the fifth to the sixth bhumi.
Okay.
Then this is saying of the 10 ways to cross, this is the way to cross that Nagarjuna is choosing, is that
Got it.
the um the equality of primordial absence of birth from any of the four extremes, that things do not arise or are produced, that does not exist. And so he basically, he doesn't go through the 10, he just uses this one for
Yeah.
us. This whole book is about that things don't exist or do exist, both or neither. But the reason is it's not the way we think. It's not that
Right.
things don't exist or they do
Okay.
exist, or both or neither. It's just not the way we think. And then he's building us up for that. I think the next bhumi, which is that things come off from our own seeds, but at some point they don't. But at our level, they are coming from our own side. And if if we can't if we can't stop the suffering in the world, like we see things and we feel really bad about it because they're coming from our seeds, the argument is that we can just stop making more seeds to see these things that we're seeing that are very bizarre, in the world that hurt a lot
Right.
of people.
Right. Right. Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I saw my work situation coming from my own seeds, but I also saw that, I mean, for Pete's sake, it's a low wage job, right? I mean, I have to have some perspective about this. And
Right.
for me to really go all out for something I see is happening in our capitalist society, that when you work low wage, you have to work really long hours.
Right.
Um, I guess technically I am also projecting that by being one of those people that are doing that. So
Yeah.
maybe, can I do what you said? You spent years in a black hole of just working. Can I take my practice a little more seriously and have better focus? I don't know.
Mhm.
But you're suggesting that I might want to give that a try because you've tried the other way and you just work really hard to try to help people, and you work really hard either to make money, and then you can't even remember what you did 10 years later at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. 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 While the same deeds can be done with a different state of heart mind, such that the results they will bring when they bring their results will be much different than they would be when we are in the rat race state of mind. But it really isn't just about deciding we're going to change our mind, change our heart. It's not under willpower. It comes with effort and practice and inspiration and failure and trying again, and just why we have all of those methods of purify, make, merit, to be able to grow this ability for our heart to change. And then it isn't so much of a struggle. If when we have a client that we really like, it's easier to enjoy taking care of them, even when we have to do icky stuff for them and we're still being paid a low wage. When we're perceiving the client as someone who's difficult and unpleasant, it's harder to have that same joyful effort. And that's the struggle of samsara. That's, we're not bad. It is coming from our seeds. It's ignorant. It's mistaken. That's all.
Yeah, it's ignorant pleasure and ignorant displeasure. It's coming
Exactly.
from our seeds. I have the pleasure because I perceive, someone who's awesome and a teacher as worth it. This is a high object. And then when I see someone as an enemy, it's not worth it. But it's in the teachings too. The enemy and the high object are actually the same thing.
Right. Their
So
nature.
where's that coming from that I want to discriminate between whether I should stay in that low wage job because it's a high object, and as soon as it becomes an enemy, I got to find another job.
Yeah. But the same thing will happen in another job. Not to mean stay in the job, right? But change jobs for a different reason, then this job's bad. I need to get into a different one. It's if this were easy, right? We'd all be Buddhas by now.
It's too late. I already failed.
Oh, learned, right?
Mike told me the same thing. He said, you're just going to find ignorance somewhere else. And that's what I meant when
Yeah.
my teachers tell me something and I don't listen to them. It's this exact point.
You have such a great attitude. Yes, Roxana.
No, I'm just listening and remembering the mindset that we have when we're doing something. Definitely that quality interaction that Janet always talks about. And since I can remember, I have always felt that I will never lack of anything.
Wow.
Like I it's not that I do not expect anything, but I feel so secure that I know that I will never would have any lack of economic issues or of anything. But it's
Right.
always been like that.
Yeah.
And I just feel it. But I think that's also a karmic ripening, isn't it, dear Lama?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
From past generosity.
right.
Yeah.
So I honestly would wish that everybody, would just naturally feel it, that
Good.
confidence. It helps. I mean, until now, I don't have it. I never have had any issues.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
not, I'm not rich, but I have sufficient to give, to offer others, and to live comfortably.
Yeah. It's an interesting underlying attitude, and what a difference it would be. I grew up also not wealthy, but needs always met, but I've always had this sense of, what if, right? I always had this fear of not enough, even though I've never been in that position of not enough. It's still in there. No, the complete opposite of what Roxana is talking about. Mm. So we got to chapter 8 today. That's better than before. We'll just keep plugging away, shall we? Chapter 8. Are you the agent of the action before you do the action? Are you the agent of the action while you're doing the action? Are you the agent of the action after you've done the action because now it's, had its effect? How does that being an agent of actions establish you as a real thing? Because of course it doesn't, right? Is going to be Arya Nagarjuna's point. Okay, so remember that person we wanted to be able to help. They are so happy we are doing this together, so they don't have to. We've set in motion, helping them in that deep and ultimate way someday. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy beings. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. See how happy they are with your effort. Ask them to please, please stay close, to continue to guide you and help you and inspire you and show you things you haven't seen before. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them, accept it, and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. It feels so good, we want to turn ourselves over to it. So that we can share it with others. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom may. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom. And may it be so. All right. Thank you, my dears.
Thank you, dear Holy Lama.
Beautiful.